Give them a shot to do what?
My pee. So anyway, welcome to the show tonight. We got a jam-packed show. We're going to do some updates from the NBA and NHL playoffs. Bert, I don't know what you got in store for us with hockey talk, but just my little scanning of the terrain, it looks like we're headed to a Stanley Cup rematch, but I'll let you take care of that. The Knicks' wild comeback, the Thunder surviving the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then we'll do the top 5 teams, MLB, AL, and NL edition, and some good and bad and fugly for the rest of the week. So strap it on, folks. We'll do all that and more next. Sports. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network, powered by Fast Break Coffee, and sponsored, as always, Bert, by the Haters. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the podcast listenership, the YouTube viewership, the first timers, last timers, social media ship. Bert, I need everybody out there in the world to like, subscribe to the channel. Follow us at Stuff About Sports on social media at Give Us a Shot Network. If you don't do any one of those things, just do one. And if you don't do any of them, then I am inclined to believe you are indeed a hater. We have our first question, Bert.
Yeah.
Better father, with Father Day coming up, quickly approaching. Better father, Darth Vader or Anthony Edwards?
Oh, easily.
That's
Darth
hilarious.
Vader. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Darth Vader did atone, right? So first off, he didn't know he was a dad, so I can't really fault him. Like, Anthony Edwards knew he was a father, decided to actively say, fuck them kids, paid his child some more 18 months or 18 years in advance and said, don't call me ever again. Darth Vader found out at
least
the
he did
end,
the right thing. You know, he didn't,
right. He didn't skate. He didn't skate.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that it? Like, can you technically still call? That's the question. I think Darth Vader is infinitely a better father because once he realized he was a father, he did the right thing. But Anthony Edwards, is he better than a deadbeat? Like, can you call him a deadbeat at that point?
No,
because it's like,
no.
Like, yeah, he's not actively involved in raising the kid, but he said, hey man, listen, here's 18 years of child support all at once. Good luck. And so I don't know, man. I feel like I can't fault Anthony Edwards. You can't really call him a deadbeat either. Like, that's a crazy.
No, he's not.
Darth Vader showed that he cared, right? A lifetime of Stockholm syndrome. Darth Vader should be a lesson, right? In psychology and therapy. He fought a life. Fatherhood helped him break through a lifetime of subjugation and being objectified and used as a tool by the dark side. And the gift of love, the power of love. So it's the light side, the dark side, and love, right? Fatherhood helped him break the curse and help his son out. So shout out to Darth Vader. Shout out to Anakin, man. Yo, Father of the Year, maybe.
he needs the shout out. Yeah,
he does. And Disney, enough with these bullshit shows. Star Wars is a Skywalker movie. No matter how hard you try to expand the universe, nobody cares about anything other than the Skywalkers. Not the adopted girl Skywalker that you guys tried to force down our throats. No, we want give me a 2-hour Darth Vader movie of him just slicing and dicing his way through the universe. That's what the streets want. Every movie you come out with that has nothing to do with the Skywalkers, what are the best parts, Bert? Every part that got Darth Vader in it. That's the only part people talk about, right? That stupid Mandalorian show when Darth Vader was like holding the shit back.
I like the Mandalorian show.
But what were the best parts of the
Skywalker though?
Which is more so than like the other ones, right? But what were the best parts of Mandalorian? When Luke showed up and when Darth Right. Like, come on now. So, I mean, I can't be the only one. So,
Mhm.
shout out to Star Wars. But yeah, give us what we want, man. We ain't trying to see all that other shit. That's fucking crazy. All right, Bert, let's get into the good, bad, and fugly this week in the world of sports. This is a segment where we quickly go over the things that we saw that were good, the things that we saw that were bad, and things that we saw that were downright fucking ugly. So, Bert, get us started with the
Mhm.
good.
Look no further than my sweatshirt. Team USA, after 92 years, has won gold in the Ice Hockey World Championships, bringing it back home. Nothing better than seeing that, and especially an overtime win, too. It was fantastic. Fantastic. So they get my good this week.
My good is going to something, Bert, that we saw that me and you have talked about for, I would say, the last at least 2 or 3 years. My Deion Dawkins of my Buffalo Bills and Jason Kelsey and a couple of others finally get an award going called Protector of the Year. I'm not really sold on the name, but it is a first step in what me and you have said. We should stop doing league MVP because it is a quarterback award. A lineman or a running back, specifically this past year, where the argument was, it was like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry for a little bit there, and then largely Saquon Barkley, and especially Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley towards the end of the year. But now there's a Protector of the Year award, which to me is basically the MVP for offensive linemen. And me and you have fought for, instead of doing league MVP, how about you do like the Johnny Unitas, which is their version of the Cy Young, and that's the quarterbacks. And then you do position MVP by position, right? You have your skill players, which are wide receiver and running backs. You do your offensive linemen, your defensive linemen, and special teams. And then so you have maybe 5 or 6 categories. You're obviously not going to be like, hey, who's the safety MVP and who's the linebacker MVP? No, you do your whoever. And I know that they do like defensive player of the year, offensive player of the year, but if you make that more prestigious and kind of lump all those together, then I think would benefit the NFL. Absolutely. I think it would drive competition. And I think it's good that we're actually, and we may not actually get that, but at least this is something that the linemen specifically, it's a thankless job. Face of Sports, shout out to you. That award is long past needed. Absolutely. The linemen will never get recognized for anything other than just being big, goofy, fast, powerful guys. But they do need some sort of award. So I'm really, I hope defense gets a version of this, right? Pass rusher of the year or something like that.
Yeah.
So I know they do defensive player of the year, but start pushing towards position MVPs. Bert, you got a bad?
I do have a bad. Caitlin Clark sidelined for 2 weeks with a quad strain. Now, why is that bad? It's an injury that's not going to take a lot of time healing. She'll be back after 4 games. Perfectly fine. Sucks that she's injured. But from a revenue standpoint, we are already starting to see implications as to why it's bad. And I'll give you an example because as of an hour or two ago, USA Today reported that prices for Fever games, both at home and on the road, have already fell. Seeing home game ticket prices that were 71 more expensive yesterday than they were today. And on average, ticket prices for home games for Fever dropped from $137 to $80. And if you look to the 2 games they have coming up on the road against Washington and Chicago, they moved both of those games to larger arenas to keep up with the demand for individuals who want to see the likes of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese showdown. And again, the Mystic game already saw their lowest ticketed price originally for $41 dropped to $14. And the Sky on average had tickets because they want to see that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark matchup. After the news broke, tickets were averaging about $210 yesterday. Today, $95 after the news came down. So to sit here and say that there is not an profound effect of revenue driven solely from her competitorship and Caitlin Clark, I mean, look no further than this example. And Jerm, I'll touch upon it a little bit later on. And I'm sure we've seen posts going around too in terms of what the NBA is looking at their total revenue being this year and how much of it is derived just from Caitlin Clark's ticket sales, merch sales, value of the Fever going up and everything else, man. The bet is the fact that when Caitlin Clark misses time, revenue drops. And that's something that the league has to look at. And it's a good problem to have in most cases. But I mean, if she's out for an extended period of time, you're talking about significant revenue drops.
There was a report from somebody from Harvard, some big financial degree guy said that Caitlin Clark is responsible for $36 million of revenue for the city of Indianapolis. She's only been in the league 2 years. The WNBA is expected to make $1 billion this year, which is a record, obviously. And like you said, Clarkonomics is real. Again, she's not the best player in the league. We've talked about this. She's the biggest player in the league. There's a difference, right? So like when the best or the biggest thing of anything goes away, it shows in interest and ratings, and like her, hate her, love her, whatever. She's the needle mover, and when the needle goes down, everything else goes down with it. So yeah, it sucks.
Man,
it
they
sucks
were
for the
saying
Fever.
that 26% of the league's revenue is a derivative of Caitlin Clark.
What was that again?
26% of the league's revenue.
Insane. A quarter of the league's revenue.
Yeah.
/ interest, whatever word you want to describe it, is attributed to one player. God forbid she tears her ACL. Like all the growth, and that's not to say
still
that
have the
league,
merch sales for sure, but
right. And the league did show that it was growing before she got there, maybe more of a snail's pace, but it was growing. But obviously, that she was the battery in the league's back that they needed, and it does suck for her. Face of Sports says it does suck for the league. But as a CC fan, there's a good amount of games I'll watch without her. Most won't, though. For sure. Like, I have actively tried to watch, and I spoke about this last week. There are players and teams that I do enjoy watching, but that's all sports. There's teams in even men's sports, that are boring to me and I won't watch. And there's teams that I'm not a fan of that I will watch because I'm interested in certain players. Do those investigation results. He's talking about the investigation results into the Chicago Sky, the last Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever game. Listen, this idea that we should ignore race in sports when race is not, it's just a piece of it, man. It's always going to be a piece of it, especially when you have like two stars in their own right. Like it's exemplified, man. It shouldn't be the driving force. It's just a wheel on the car, right? It's just one of those things. Like you're never going to escape it. These people that try to act like race isn't part of the equation is it's silly to me. I don't really like that. But people, old WNBA fans like to hate on people who watch it now because of Caitlin Clark, but they'll ignore the fact that people are actually watching. Like which one do you want, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like it just. Like you complain that nobody cares about the sport, and then when we finally have a reason to care about the sport, you're mad that we don't care about the stuff that you care about. Just shut the fuck up. How about that? Bums. Like just let us enjoy what we like to enjoy. But shout out to Caitlin Clark. 2 weeks. I'm glad. Last year, that's growth to me because last year she was playing through some injury that she refused to sit out for. She felt like she had to play. This to me is a good development for her to let her coach know that she's willing to sit out games. Especially early, sit her out now. Like the games are early, everybody's fairly close. Like they're still going to make the playoffs. So I wouldn't. It's a 2-week injury, like you said. It's about 4 games missing. So I wouldn't care if I was a Fever fan. My bad, Bert. Hassan Reddick bitched and cried in the New York Jets. Bitched and cried on the Philadelphia Eagles. Refused to go to OTAs. I want money. Signs with the Tampa Bay or goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guess what? OTA started today. Guess who wasn't there, Bert? You guessed it. Hassan Reddick. Listen, skipping voluntary workouts is one thing. I get it. You're an aging guy. But you're on a new team. You're skipping OTAs over contracts. Like you're old. You want your last big money deal. This ain't the way to do it, man. Like I don't want to live in anybody else's pockets. You're not endearing yourself to what I believe is a fairly good team that has a really good chance to compete. And you could be a big part of that. But here you are acting like a baby back bitch over money. You've made mad money. He acts like he's coming off a rookie deal and he's been playing for pennies. You've made millions of dollars. If you are trying to tell me that as a new team owner or a new team, and you're trying to entice me to give you money, sitting out on OTAs in your first year here with us is probably not the way to do it, Bert. So anyway, what's your fugly?
Ooh, you're not going to like this one. But is there anything worse than having a semifinal series be a complete and utter blowout? Not to mention Rod Brindamore and the Hurricanes continue to embarrass themselves when it matters. And I'm here thinking that they're only good for playing 82 regular season games. If it wasn't for their win on Monday, which was a close game right up until the third, they went 15 winless games in the Eastern Conference Final. Absolutely getting demolished last week. Their 2 games at home and the 1 game on the road. And if it wasn't for, honestly, Florida's lackluster effort on Monday, it would have been a sweep altogether. Now, the best thing you can pray for, Jerm, is that they win the next 2 and force a 7, but I don't even think that's going to happen. I think Florida's going to bounce back and eliminate them come tomorrow night. And I told you last week going into this series, it's going to come down to 2 things, grit and goaltending. And I told you goaltending is of the utmost importance when you get this far into the series or this far into the playoffs. And look no further than Bobrovsky, who's been absolutely amazing in keeping the Panthers in it. And it's not to say that the Hurricanes haven't had shots. They have. They've outshot the Panthers. They've damn near almost out-hit them too. They have the toughness. They have the speed. The one thing that the Hurricanes failed to do is make changes in game. And I don't know if that's attributed to Rod's coaching style. I don't know if he just wants his players to stick to the game, chip away, and if things pull through, they pull through. But how much more tape can you look at as a Hurricanes fan to understand that that 5-year contract that you just gave him at the end of last season, after he has proved, I mean, arguably that he can be a playoff coach, but just not go far in the playoffs. But now you're on the hook for another 4 years after this, unless you fire him. I don't think they'll do it this year, but somewhere down the line. And I just don't think he's making the necessary in-game adjustments to give his team the best shot to win out. And I mean, now you got the toughest of them all. You got to reverse sweep them and win the next 3 to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. It was honestly fugly to watch. And as someone who I said on the show last week, I want to see different blood in championship games. I do. And right now, as you led into at the top of the show, it's looking like we're going to see a rematch of last year, which I guess would be exciting. I can continue to root for the Oilers all the way through, but I wouldn't have mind if I saw Dallas and Carolina in there as well. But man, the Hurricanes, they just look sloppy. They look bad, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Brindamore got a contract last year, so the chances of them firing him after they lose the series is probably slim to none. But how many more collapses do you need to have in the playoffs? Like, once you reach a certain level, making the playoffs is expected, and it should not be a check mark. Like, it shouldn't be something that we could say, hey, we made the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, once you reach a certain level, that stuff should be expected, and that should not be a reason why you keep your job when you continue to have these types of performances in the playoffs. So, I mean, I don't know what else the Canes can do. I mean, all they're going to do is add a piece here, maybe run it back. What do you do?
They need consistent goaltending is what it is. And as much as they rely on Anderson, I mean, having them switch it up for game 3 didn't work. They had Anderson back in net, who played a phenomenal game on Monday night too. But I think if they had an all-star goalie, that would be the needle mover. But also I do think I think it's a little bit of Rod's system that has to change. He brings a lot of power and he brings a lot of forecheck, and that does chip away and add to speed and offensive and a lot of time in the offensive zone. But what it also leads to, Jerm, too, if you're a little bit over aggressive, it leads to a lot of odd man rushes the other way. And that's how they've been getting burned. I mean, that's how the Panthers, who have speed, who have skill, who have grit and toughness, I mean, they catch them off guard, and you go up 1-on-1 against either of their goaltenders, or even 2-on-1 on either of their goaltenders. And, it's just going to end up in pretty much an automatic goal. So, I think they need to try to find a way to fix that. I don't know what other talent that they would go out and look for, because I think they do have a deep roster. I think it's just truly about fixing playing style. But hey, who am I but a fan?
My fugly, this is going to be short and sweet, Bert. Colorado Rockies. That's it. That's the fugly. Holy shit. Like,
What did
know
I read?
won
They
the
were
other
on
day.
track to have like a negative 500 run differential by the end of the season.
Usually when you have these historically bad teams, there's always a caveat. Yeah, they have this incredibly awful losing record, but all of their losses are like 1-point games, right? Like it's one of those where like it's always some type of like caveat to the losing. No, the Rockies are terrible. Like it's just all around just terrible. And I as a Rockies fan, like I believe a team, honestly, if you're a team like the Rockies or like how the Athletics are a little different because they were going through something off the field that led to kind of the discourse between the fans. But like if you're a team like the Rockies that clearly aren't going anywhere and you're just this type of bad, the ticket should be free to the games. Sorry. Like charges for concessions, charges for parking, whatever you want to do. Tickets should be free to the games. Like I'm not paying. You're selling tickets for $8. I'm pretty sure you could just give them away for free. Hey, what is that? What is those little $8 tickets going to do for you? Like charge or give us free concessions. That's charges for the tickets. And what you do is you give out the beer and the food for free. Like you have to entice people to invest in this team because it surely isn't in the hopes of winning. So my fugly is going to the Colorado Rockies. Like this is bad. Super bad.
They are 24 games behind, and they have a run differential right now of a negative 173.
Nasty.
They've had
that shit is nasty.
It's insane. And to put it in context, the team with the most plus run differential are the Yankees right now with 111, which is outstanding. Don't get me wrong, but to have that much more going the other way is a whole new type of bad, Jerm.
No, I'm going to say this year's Rockies could not beat last year's White Sox.
No, I don't think this year's. Yeah, if there was any type of relegation, I think the Rockies would be down in the minor league system right now.
100%. We'll get into that in a little bit later. All right, Bert. Let's talk NHL playoffs. Did you get your fugly or was that me?
That I gave my fugly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got you.
It started with the Hurricanes, and honestly,
Hurricanes.
there's not much more to say about that. I mean, they have something to do, which is almost unheard of, which is to take the next 3 and go into the Stanley Cup Finals. But I honestly think Florida is going to end it in Game 5. So we're going to shift our focus over to the West, and here we are. Saw a great first 2 games, and then it seemed as though the Oilers took control in Game 3. They're now leading the series 2-1. They're up 1-0 right now in Game 4. Have a chance today to really take a strong lead and go 3-1 in the series 2. And you want to talk about another team that's snake bit in the conference finals, but at least they make a series out of it, and that's the Stars. And I said it last week. This is their 3rd consecutive appearance in the conference finals. And you got to think that, hey, even playing this arguably a very similar, if not the same Oilers team as last year, they'd have a little bit more of a competitive edge. But, with the way it's looking and the way, Edmonton's goaltending has been with Skinner looking absolutely unreal, and their scoring depth that they have between, hate to say it, hate to name names like Corey Perry and Evander Kane, given their off-ice antics, but that combined with Leon Draisaitl and McJesus himself, Connor McDavid, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Stars. And for anybody who listened last week, I took the Stars. I thought that with their grit, they can get it done, and they still can. It's just a 1-0 lead in Game 4. But what I've watched in the last 2 games, it looks like it's going back to Edmonton, for a Stanley Cup final against the Panthers.
So for the NBA, the shocking thing is that the Timberwolves statistically had the Thunder beat and still lost by 2. I don't know, so it came down to clutch plays down the stretch. And this is where separates a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who won the MVP, versus Anthony Edwards, who probably should be in MVP contention. And sometimes you forget that he's 23 years old. But now the Thunder are ahead 3-1. And the statistics of teams coming back from 3-1 are not good, Bert. I don't know if you know this. It's similar in hockey. Like, it doesn't happen very often. So SGA scored 40 points. Jalen Williams had 34 points. And then I think Nikhil Alexander had another 23 points. So basically the Thunder did with what the Pistons used to do to Jordan back in the day. They said, all right, Anthony Edwards, once we stop you, there's nobody else that's worth a damn. And they held Anthony Edwards to 16 points. And if you're going to be a franchise guy, if you're going to be one of the better players in the league or an MVP candidate, you got to be more consistent. I can't get this shit where you're doing 14 points one game, 40 points the next game, and now you're down to 16 points again. Like, that can't happen if you're supposed to be a star player or a superstar. And so the Thunder have been dominant all year. We picked them to go to the finals anyway, so this isn't shocking. I just thought the Thunder would make this more interesting. I do suspect the Thunder to finish this series out, unfortunately. I don't see I mean, if the Wolves do win a game, it'll be the next game, but then I just don't like. Yeah, the West felt like it was over before it began. I think it was because the reason why this is interesting is because the Thunder have been so overwhelmingly great all season. We weren't expecting the Timberwolves to give them the fight that they're giving them, and that sounds ridiculous considering that the series is 3-1. But if you watch the games, like Julius Randle didn't show up at all. You're the second best player on the team. We're relying on you. This is why we brought you here. And you know, the memes are going around that Julius Randle turned into Angel Reese. Like, you're just, yeah, it's terrible. Angel Reese has entered meme territory. It's terrible for her, man. I feel bad for her. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. It's the playoffs. You have to show up. You can't you can't disappear from the moment. And then when it comes to the Knicks and the Thunder, the Knicks and the Pacers had a chance to really take control, and they were up 20 points. You can't blow a 20-point lead, period. Don't care what the situation is. You're feeling yourself. It's easy to get momentum. It's hard to keep it. When you have to be able to put your foot on the throat and step on it. You're up 20 points. You shouldn't be losing the game. And the fact that you were up 20 points after halftime is even a bigger indictment on the fact that you saw the victory before the game was over. And then you allowed the Knicks to come back in. Karl Anthony Towns had the game of his life. Do I expect that to happen again? The Pacers have shown that they are the better team the entire way. I do expect the Pacers to win the series. But now it's more of a series than the Thunder and the Timberwolves are. So listen, be careful. I'm just saying, Indiana, a team, the Knicks can come back. The Knicks have been feisty all year. Tom Thibodeau finally played more than 7 guys on his 12-man roster, so maybe he'll do that more. The funny thing is, the Knicks came back because their 2 best players on paper sat out because they're terrible defensively, right? Jalen Brunson will never be, to me, a tier 1 player because he's awful on defense, and that showed more so the game in that game, because during the stretch when they made that run, he was on the bench. Your best player can't be on the bench when your team is making a fantastic historical run. That doesn't really speak well of you. So it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the playoffs look like. I do have the Thunder moving on, and I had the Knicks beforehand because I thought they were the better team, but the Pacers have shown that they're just better coached, and they kind of have that we have nothing to lose mentality. Pacers shocking people 100%. And honestly, if you look at them, you shouldn't be shocked. Like, the only really shocking thing is that Tyrese Halliburton, who was voted the most overrated player in the league by its peers, is taking it personally, and he's playing well. He's making the plays. But yeah, blowing 20-point leads, not something that happens often. I got to imagine that the Pacers are going to tighten that shit up, and it's probably the best thing to happen to them is losing that game, because now they know that they can't put the cart before the horse, and I expect them to finish off the Knicks in spectacular
tie
fashion.
Game right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. This is what their game 4, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we'll see what the Pacers do. I think teams with the 3-1 lead. Let's see, NBA teams with 3-1 lead winning percentage, because that's really the telltale sign, right? Like, once you get to that, yeah, they win 64% of the time. So yeah, coming back 3-0 doesn't happen top very often. All right, Bert, give me the top 5 teams in baseball. Well, you said NL and AL, right? You're going to do NL and AL?
Yeah, I have them split up. I'll give you the NL first,
Okay.
right? I mean, and it's hard, especially after this past weekend and what the Mets did to the Dodgers, to not put them at the top, to be completely honest with you. And I know there's going to be a lot of individuals that are mad salty right now. I mean, they might want to throw the Cubs out there. They might want to throw Philly out there. But I think when you look at who I foresee is going to be there in September, October, vying for that top spot, I think we're going to be looking at the Mets and the Dodgers, plain and simple. And the Mets had a great outing. They got their big hitters back, getting runs on the board again too. So, real quick down the line, I have Mets at 1, Phils at 2, Dodgers, Giants, and then San Diego. I'm going to catch a lot of heat from Cubs fans, but at the end of the day, you know what? I'll put the Cubs in the 5 spot. I will.
Okay. Give me that 5.
So I'll drop
real
San
quick.
Diego.
Give me that 5 real quick again.
Yeah. So we'll do Mets, Phils, Dodgers, Giants, Cubs.
Shocked you don't have Detroit in there at 35 and 20.
That I have them in the AL.
I'm sorry. AL.
Yeah, that was
I'm
NL.
tripping.
Yeah.
I'm tripping. Yeah, you didn't end up. That's right. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I mean, switching gears, since you mentioned it, going to the AL, I do have the Yankees at 1, then Detroit. 2 reasons why I have Yanks at 1 and 2, and I'm not just being a homer on this one, but Detroit has 2 extra games on us. So they have 2 games in hand, essentially. Mm-hmm. They've played 2 more than we have. But when I look at offense and production and defense as well, Yanks have a 111 run differential right now. So, and this is for a Yankees team that was down their number 1 guy all season in Garrett Cole. Not to say that we haven't had pitching step up when we needed to, but more importantly, our bats torpedoed and non-torpedoed. I had to take that into consideration as well. So I got Yanks, Detroit, Seattle, Cleveland, and Minnesota rounding out the 5 spot.
I don't disagree with you. It's the thing about the Yankees, it's funny, and I know it's not shocking to say that Judge is the MVP, but I think most people would say Judge isn't having the best year if you just watch the games, not knowing any of the stats, but he's batting average is 400. Right?
He's been batting 400 for the past 2 months now, which is insane. And on top of that, I mean, I have no problem with him and Ohtani going back and forth in terms of who's a home run leader or who's a better hitter. Jerm, how many times have we said on this show that baseball fans care about hitting? And for me, this is exciting in the fact that if he's not number 1, he's within the top 5, and he has that competitive nature with literally what you could argue is the face of baseball right now, and Shohei Ohtani, and a lot of our other big hitters out there in the league too. But I mean, he's very self-critical in itself. I mean, he said in a post-game interview, if I'm remembering, something along the lines of he's not necessarily happy with where he is and how he's seeing the ball, despite the fact that he is batting close to 400, if not 400, depending on, game to game. It's absolutely insane to have that mentality. But, when you figure this is a guy who struggled in the postseason last year, you get to the World Series, struggle in the World Series too. I can only think that this offseason, something mentally for him clicked where it's never going to be good enough until he gets a ring. And I'm fine with that.
Judge and Ohtani were created in labs. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing, Ohtani, who I believe is the greatest player I've ever watched play. I get that he hasn't racked up the accolades, but I'm talking about just picking up the bat and throwing the ball and playing the sport. He's the greatest I've ever seen. And Judge obviously is a monster within himself. The thing about the Mets that you mentioned, the one thing I like about the Mets and that I don't like about the Mets is actually the same thing. A lot of their success has been off of individual performances per game. It's not really a total team effort. You know what I mean? It's Lindor one game, or it's the pitching another game. It's always somebody has to save the day. Pete Alonso has been noted.
It always ends up being Pete, though. Pete is that dude.
More times than not, it's Pete. And then if there's games that it's not Pete, he does have that RBI double that kind of kickstarts it, and then maybe Lindor finishes it off like he did the other day. It's always just, for me, it's not like when you watch all the other great teams, it's a total team thing. With the Mets, it seems like it's more, not to say that there hasn't been games where they've just been completely dominant and everybody's been getting their stuff off. It just seems like more times than not, specifically with that team more than anybody else, we have to rely on that individual performance. Brett Beatty having more home runs than anybody in the month of May. Like, that's crazy. We sent him down. You know what I mean? They had to call him back up. Like, it's so and then obviously we know everything about Soto and the things that's happening. And yeah, he's getting on base and he's getting walked and he's helping the lineup. But you want more production from your big time guys, specifically the highest paid player on your payroll. So it's early. I know I'm going to keep saying that until it's not early anymore, but it is a good sign. It is good that the team is successful, even though it's not totally clicking for everybody. So that's the only thing I'll say about
well,
the
you know,
Mets.
the biggest test, and especially for the Mets, is always July through September. So, and I think that holds true to all teams, right? But I mean, so far we're seeing exciting baseball. We're about, I think, a third of the way through, just under. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But you know, we'll do another stack ranking as we get closer to the All-Star break, and then definitely one as we head into late August.
You Chicago Cub fans that are talking a bunch of shit. That's why your best player got suspended for 80 games for steroids. And didn't I just read that today? Pete Crow Armstrong, you got suspended 80 games for steroids. Fuck out of here. Did the internet fool me? Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't see anything, so I can't confirm nor deny.
Let's see. Maybe it's because he's been playing so well. Oh yeah, I got fooled. I got fooled by the internet. Well, then I apologize, Cub fans, but not really. I don't care. Fuck Pete Crow. Fuck the Cubs. All right, Bert, let's play some fair or foul.
Let's do it.
A couple of fair or foul. I know I didn't tell you what these are in advance because I know you like to be surprised with some of them. Bert, fair or foul? Geno Smith will have a better season than Sam Darnold.
Ooh, fair. I'll go fair. We've seen the second coming of Geno, and I want to stick with that.
I believe also fair, and it's really less to do with Geno and the Raiders, even though I do like that team. It's the Seahawks drafted Jalen Milroe, and I think Sam Darnold's leash is going to be a lot shorter than people think it is, unless he comes out like he did last year. That pseudo MVP season he was kind of having at the beginning. I think his leash is going to be extremely short, considering all the reports you're hearing about Jalen Milroe's just accuracy and the way he throws the ball and how everybody's so enamored. So I agree with you. Fair or foul, Bert? The NBA All-Star Game should be converted to Team USA versus Team World. Giannis Antetokounmpo threw that out there.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you saw what international competition and international play and an All-Star break did for the NHL this past year with their stars on these 4 different teams. Do the same for the NBA, do it for all All-Star breaks, to be honest with you. Aside from, the cool skill competitions, we don't need to see, guys going at 50% playing in these games. I want to see international competition.
I agree. This is fair. Nothing drives competition than good old-fashioned gang warfare. And what bigger gang is there than patriotism? Right? Like, patriotism is the biggest gang affiliate there is. You will ride or die for your country. And if you have Team USA versus the world, I'm not saying it will be like these guys are going to be throwing elbows and it's not going to be like FIBA basketball, but it'll be better than what we've gotten, I think. I think once it's on the line that this is USA players born and raised in the States versus players who come over where the notice has been put out that the European players are kind of taking over the NBA. I think you have to try something different. And I know Adam Silver said we'll probably go back to the East-West format, but you know what, man? Been there, done that. Let's go USA versus the world. Fuck it. Like it's a thing. The game is global. You want to grow the game globally. This is it. I think you're absolutely right. Everybody should do it. Baseball, hockey, or not hockey. Yeah, NHL does it. Or just did it, and it was amazing. I don't know. Hockey's different because you can't have that like long tournament. It's we're gonna condense it into into this one game. But I think absolutely they should do something like this. Fresh out of the NFL owners meetings, Bert, the tush push survived another year. I know we've talked about this before, But fair or foul, the tush push should have been banned.
Foul. It shouldn't have been. I mean, how many times do we have to say it over and over and over again? If you're going to continue to ban things that you feel are unfair, then every single offseason you're going to have owners bring in, well, what about this play? What about that play? That's not fair. It's ridiculous to me. Find a way to stop it or execute it better than they can. Those are your options.
I'm disappointed in you. This is absolutely fair. It should have been banned because it is technically an illegal play. We talked about this before. On defense, you are not allowed to use another player's momentum to get penetration. You cannot pull a player forward. And because they can't prove definitely that a player, Jalen Hurts, is getting pulled forward past the line of scrimmage, because you can't definitively say that because it's such a mosh pit of just human bodies, it should be banned because the defense can't do it. And if they're not going to lift that ban for defense, then the tush push is by definition, by NFL rule, illegal. You know what? What's next? Fine. You let the tush push happen. You know what we should do? Let's get a midget out there and just throw him over the line of scrimmage. Is that fair? Should we just start doing that? Should we just what's the rules?
As long as they don't play defense, that's fine.
It's unbelievable that they allowed this thing to happen. And again, it's funny because they didn't say it's not banned. They're just basically suspending it. So there is a chance it's one of those things they're gonna keep pushing.
Probably
it
gonna
year
be a yearly
year.
thing, yeah.
And until people are tired of talking about it, and then it'll just quietly disappear. But yeah, like what's next? Like let's just throw somebody over the line of scrimmage. Like I don't catapult them, the catapult push or whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous. The player's ridiculous. And again, I don't have a problem with it if the level, the playing field is level. Allow the defense to penetrate, create an arrow, and push through the offensive line. I do believe there's a caveat. I'm here for midget launching touchdowns. Yeah, why not? I mean, if Jalen Hurts is basically that, just throw him over the line of scrimmage. Let Saquon squat him over. He can squat a cement truck. Let's just push him over from the behind the line of scrimmage above Jason Kelce or whoever's replacing Jason Kelce. They should just do that. Bert, fair or foul? Andrew Luck is eligible, I guess, for the Hall of Fame. So fair or foul? Andrew Luck deserves to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Foul. I mean, I don't know how you can say that. What does he have? If you're not going to vote Eli Manning into the Hall of Fame, there's no way Andrew Luck should even sniff Canton.
I agree with you, foul. And we're not gonna get into it, but I call Andrew Luck the greatest bust of all time because I look at it as a return on investment. So he had the absolute. If he played a little longer, absolutely, he was on the trajectory to be not only a Hall of Famer, Bert, but possibly the greatest quarterback ever. But he couldn't handle the NFL grind. He got beat up by his offensive line. Too bad on the Indianapolis Colts for wasting him. It's a sad story. I wish he played longer, but yeah, you're not a Hall of Famer. You had a really hot moment, and your peak was really high, higher than maybe anybody I've seen. But at some point, I can't give you didn't win anything at all. So yeah, there's no way I think you're a Hall of Famer. Last one, Bert. I set the internet ablaze with this question because I basically said there's only 5 true franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. So fair or foul, Bert, you don't have a franchise quarterback if that quarterback is not the best player on your team. I'll let you think about it. Basically, what I said was Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Jaden Daniels are the only true franchise quarterbacks because every other team in the NFL, the quarterback is not the best player, or there's a debate that if he is the best player or not. You have to be not only the best player, but the reason why your team is successful or winning. And you can't say that for any other team other than the 5 teams that I mentioned. That's why I think this is a really good question. So, and I think we use.
So when Tom Brady was on the Bucs, not a franchise quarterback,
he was the best player on the team. He was an MVP
by
candidate.
definition. You're going to say that Tom Brady was the Buccaneers franchise quarterback.
Well, he's not franchised because he was only there for a short amount of time, but he was the best player of the league. Like, you have to be, and we knew what it was with Tom Brady, but he was a franchise quarterback by definition because he did it on the Patriots. He came over to the Bucs to be that franchise. He was already a franchise quarterback. It doesn't matter by
For
team.
that franchise, though.
Right, but he came over to the Bucks to have that success. So, and even still, he was still an MVP candidate. He was still the Bucks didn't win a Super Bowl before he got there. He gets there, and guess what happens? They win a Super Bowl. He is a franchise quarterback. He won, and he is the reason they won. So, yeah, for those short few years, he was a franchise quarterback. 1,000%. Think about it. Who
Man, I understand what you're saying, and if there was a third option for fair or foul, I'd probably take that, because for me, when I think franchise quarterback, that is the franchise guy at that position. So when I think franchise quarterback for Tom Brady, I think the Patriots. I think when Tom Brady goes into the Hall of Fame, he's going in as a Patriot, and that means he is tied to that franchise. That doesn't mean he wasn't the best player on the Bucks, because he was, and that doesn't. But I wouldn't label him the franchise guy there, because he was short term, right? So I think in terms of more
that doesn't mean you
longevity
have to
than I do skill.
But that doesn't mean you have to be. Every team doesn't have a franchise quarterback. They just have a quarterback.
So you're just talking about franchise player.
The term franchise quarterback is tossed around too easily, right? It's the same reason why we toss around GOAT. Like, there can't be 30 GOATs. When you think
Joe Flacco, are we going to label Joe Flacco franchise guy for Baltimore?
Because he wasn't the best player on the team. He just was the quarterback they had, and they won a Super Bowl. He wasn't the reason why they won the Super Bowl, but he was.
So here's stuff about sports, but we're petitioning, and what I think you're saying is there should no longer be a label of franchise quarterback, but rather just franchise player or franchise guy.
No,
and that
what I'm saying is we should be elevating what it means to be a franchise quarterback. You are just a quarterback. You're a very good quarterback. You're a starting quarterback. But when I think franchise guy, I think of Patrick Mahomes. I think of Josh Allen. I think of Lamar Jackson. Face of Sports says, is Lamar Henry arguable? No, because Henry isn't the best player on the team. The 2-time MVP of the league, Lamar Jackson, is the best player. Lamar just helps. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts was very good, but clearly hit a ceiling. That team didn't take off until Saquon got there. Jalen Hurts isn't the franchise quarterback. Matter of fact, if you really want to get into the weeds with it, Jalen Hurts is probably the third most important piece, arguably the fourth. When you go Saquon, the Eagles defense, and then now you have to decide whether Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts is more important. I would probably lean to the coach, because he's the one that's building the whole thing. So Rice is the greatest wide receiver ever. Joe Montana is a franchise quarterback. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Jerry Rice just gets the pub because he's the wide receiver, the skill positions, the sexy positions, right? That's just the way it works. But Jerry Rice doesn't work look what Jerry Rice did when he left San Francisco. He had to toddle around, and I get he was older, but wide receivers can't do shit by themselves. Like that's the thing. That's why you don't pay skill players, Bert. It's exactly why we talk about paying skill players.
Oh my God.
You don't pay skill players because what is the wide receiver?
To hear you say that about Jerry Rice is just insane to me. But sure, go on.
But it's true. Look at Devontae Adams. You leave a great quarterback and you toddle around. Now he's going to go on his third team in 4 years. What are you talking about? I don't care how great you are. We talked about this with your Odell Beckham. Don't pay this guy. And he wanted his money. He went and got his money, and look what happened. Yeah, he got to the Super, but he got hurt. Like that team, that Rams team is a misnomer. That team is not real, right? Like that doesn't teams that they did that for that very short window. It is not a sustainable thing of winning. It's a rented, manufactured Super Bowl title. Franchise teams, dynasties aren't built that way. They're built like the Patriots, who didn't pay skill players. And the one skill player they did ended up paying was Randy Moss. Did they win the Super Bowl that year? Nope. So I don't know. But Montana, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Montana absolutely was. And again, even if you wanted to make the argument about Jerry Rice, that is in the 80s and the early 90s. That is an outlier, right? That's not a rule. That's one example you can give me if you wanted to do that. Yeah, that's yes. Steve Young too. They are outliers. Think about it. Think about all the top 10 receivers of all time. I think one of them, the top 10 highest paid running backs of all time, Emmitt Smith is the only one with a Super Bowl ring, and he didn't get paid until after. So, like, it's Saquon now joins that list. He didn't get paid till after they won the Super Bowl. Let's see what the Eagles do now that they've paid him and they have to build that team around him. Never, and I repeat, Uncle Jerm is telling you, never pay skill players, ever. And no, don't.
Yeah, I think getting back to your question, though, after hearing your logic, I would agree with you that in order to be a franchise quarterback, you need to be elite.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement. Yeah,
and we that's enough. Thank you, Bert. That term right there, elite. That was the word I was looking for. We throw out the term elite way too easily. Like there's very few elite guys. Again, you're going to throw out C.J. Stroud to me. Derek Stingley Jr. is the best player on that team. That defense is the reason that team was successful. C.J. Stroud was able to fill the gaps, and they have excellent receivers to help C.J. Stroud look good. When those receivers start going down, C.J. Stroud looking a little pedestrian out there. I'm just saying. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, I think we need to not only the criterion for franchise quarterback needs to be a little bit more stringent, I guess, is my overarching point. And when I look at it through that lens, I can only name 5. And Jaden Daniels is kind of a stretch. There's really 4 definitive, right? But Jaden Daniels, and people are going to scream Terry McLaurin, but again, he's a receiver. He was there all these years, and they haven't done anything. You know, the quarterback matters. The quarterback is the most important position on the field, and Jaden Daniels single-handedly all year brought that team up to relevance up until it was playoff time, where I think the lights got a little too bright for the kid. But you know, we'll see. All right, Bert, you got a game ball you want to give out?
I got 2. First one goes to, I spoke about it a little bit before, the WNBA on track to have an absolute record season as it relates to their economic activity and revenue trending on the 1 billion mark. So, I mean, hats off to them and the immense growth of the sport and what it's seen over the past couple of years. That's game ball number 1. Number 2, last Wednesday, right after, I guess the day after we did the show last week, speaking of Andrew Luck and the Colts, Jim Irsay unfortunately passed away at the age of 65. Seemed to be sudden, but you know, talk about or hearing about all the players and staff. Talk about just what a great guy he was. Want to send our condolences and rest in peace. He gets the second game ball this week.
Absolutely, rest in peace, Jim Irsay. Incredibly sad. Not going to get too much into it, but he's battled drug and alcohol addiction. He was treated for an overdose last year, but anytime you read anything about Jim Irsay, he was extremely giving. Rich people don't just give out money. Like he was always willing to help. He was always looking to pay it forward. He was always looking to brighten somebody else's day. And so whatever he was fighting, obviously 65 is extremely young to be passing away peacefully in your sleep. That doesn't happen naturally. I don't care what anybody says. That's not a natural occurrence. So, he lived a hard life, and whatever he was dealing with, but that doesn't take away from the type of man he was, and everything you read about him. He was such a great person. Pat McAfee spoke in length about what Jim Irsay meant to him and basically said, hey man, try your podcast thing out or try whatever you want to do out. But if it doesn't work out, you have a job with the Colts. Like just doing that. And Pat McAfee said he wasn't special in that. That was anybody who was associated with the Colts. He offered that to. And that's just an amazing, amazing person. So rest in peace, Jim Irsay, one of the best owners in all of sports, not just the NFL. That's awesome to hear. My game ball also on kind of a somber note when it comes to death is Demaryius Thomas passed away in 2021. Has been elected to the Broncos Hall of Fame, or not Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor. Basically, one of the ultimate Broncos, to be honest with you. So, excellent receiver. I believe he's number 2 on the Broncos all-time receiving yards list and touchdown list, only behind Rod Smith, I believe. And I think he's 3rd in receptions behind Rod Smith and then Shannon Sharp. So, excellent receiver, one of the best receivers in his prime. With the Broncos, won that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning when he was there. So rest in peace, Jim Irsay. Rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. So those are our game balls. Thank you guys. Face of Sports, thank you for chiming in all show. Saw a bunch of shares. There were some comments I didn't get to, so shout out to y'all. Please follow us at Stuff About Sports on the Instagram. Give us a shot network on the Instagram, TikTok, and the Facebook. And please visit our website, www.giveusashot.network. We have a shop there. We got articles and all that good stuff there. Bert, you got anything else for the people?
Good. See y'all next week.
Hey, see y'all next week, man. Shout out to Stephon Diggs. Just slapping Cardi B's ass on the boat, man. Hope you, try not to tear an ACL out there on the boat, though. Fuck you.